For more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. And you may support this channel by following the links in the discussion. Isaiah, the Fifth Gospel, Part 4, Chapter 1. The opening chapter of the book of Isaiah tells us that God was pretty disgusted by the worship practices that were taking place in the temple at the time of Isaiah. In verse 12, the Lord says, "Who asked you to do all these ceremonies? Who asked for all of these animal sacrifices? Who asked you to observe all of these sacred days?" A confused people might have responded by saying to God, "Well, you did. Remember the books of Exodus and Leviticus and Deuteronomy? We're doing exactly what you told us to do in the Torah." But the Lord says, "I am sick of them. I want no more of these religious acts." Why? Why has God suddenly become disgusted by the very things he asks for? Has God suddenly become anti-Semitic? Or is God, the God of the prophets, trying to set up a religion that is different from the religion of the Torah? No. The Lord says that the people have failed to observe the most basic tenets of the Torah, which have to do with living a moral and holy life. Such a life includes learning to do good, seeking justice, helping the downtrodden, and defending the rights of the orphan and the widow, and fighting for the rights of the poor. The point is, the forms of worship prescribed by the Torah were meant to be gifts from God to the people. These gifts were given to be tools by which the people could maintain and deepen their relationship with God. Worship services were meant to deepen and develop a capacity for loving God and for loving other people. In short, these forms of worship were meant to develop them as people. Instead, these worship services became a cheap substitute for a relationship with God. So God says, if these services are not about you drawing closer to me and becoming more like me, then they are useless to me. Religious actions mean nothing to me if I do not have your heart. So is this passage saying that formal worship is bad, or that spontaneous worship would be better, maybe what we find in a non-denominational church? Well, I would like to answer that with a story. Matt Redman, the great songwriter and worship leader, was serving at a church where the emphasis was on performing great music. At one point in the life of that church, Matt and other church leaders began to worry that the church was becoming more concerned with great music than on loving God and being Jesus's people. They decided to take a break from music for a time in order to focus on loving God more than the music they were singing and hearing in their church services. At the end of their music fast, Matt Redman led them in a new song that he had written during this time, and the song is called "The Heart of Worship." And here are a part of the lyrics. "When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth that will bless your heart, I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You have searched much deeper within through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart." We worship for the sake of drawing closer to God and allowing God to draw closer to us and to shape us into his people. And that is what chapter 1 of Isaiah is really about.